Oftentimes, band members, we like to walk into the crowd and we like to mingle with the guests, talk to people, have a few drinks before we play. This is good for greeting and meets and greets and things of that nature, but you can always do that after the show. They're going to stick around and wait for you to come out and talk to them. Before the show, you don't want to be in anybody's, presence that may give you a bad vibe. You don't want an argument before the show, or you don't want to have too many celebratory drinks before the show. These things can completely throw you off your game. If you're someone warming up 30 minutes before the show, you're not in all the BS that can cause you to have a bad show. It puts you in a good professional headspace so you can go out and execute.
Your favorite drummer, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, Mr. Andrew Blaze Thomas.
Before we get into today's lesson, I must ask you, hit the like button. Definitely hit the subscribe button. And today I'm going to be talking about topics from my new book, You've Got the Gig, Here's How to Keep It. I have a good friend in Chicago named Dave Herrero and the Hero Brothers. From time to time, he gives me a call and I play with him. He's a great guitar player, and he has a Texas style of guitar playing, and it's really, really fast. First song of the set is almost always an upbeat swing or an upbeat flat tire shuffle, or sometimes even a right hand shuffle that he likes on the bell. Things that really get the crowd moving and jumping out their seat right when a show starts. For me to come out and play a shuffle that's over 160 beats per minute, the first song, I must warm up. If I don't do this, I end up fighting the drum set. Now, how many drummers out there have been through this feeling? When you're playing drums and you're moving your hands as fast as you can, and it feels like you're fighting the drums rather than playing the drums. Well, you don't want this. Warming up definitely gives you the edge. So when you first walk out and you start playing the first song, you're not warming up as the show going along. The mistake that we often make as drummers is we start the show and we don't warm up backstage. And it takes us about 3 songs into the set to get going. You don't want this. If you warm up, you'll be hot as a firecracker as soon as the set starts. You want to get your hands moving and flowing. So the first set, you're ready to go. When it's time to warm up before a show, that means it's normally half an hour before showtime. So, half an hour before showtime, if you have the luxury of finding a quiet room backstage somewhere in the venue before your show, go to that room, get your practice pad, get your drumsticks out, set your metronome, not to a fast tempo. I don't really think that it's wise to warm up to something that's faster than 120 beats per minute or 140 beats per minute. You want to set your metronome at around 90 to 110. Then maybe slowly during the warm-up, you can work your way up. I like to do increments of 5 minutes a piece. And I like to do at least 5 to 6 warm-up exercises before the show. Now this is if I know the show already. For example, if it's a band that I've been playing with for many years, like Billy Branch and the Sons of Blues, when I play with that band, I know the music really well. So I don't really practice the songs warming up before the show. I practice my rudiments. I spend about 5 minutes on my singles, then about another 5 minutes on my double stroke. Then I move to flams, flam taps, paradiddles. These are the things that I like to play just on a practice pad to get my hands warmed up. So right when I walk out onto the set, my hands are already ready to go. I'm ready to play. Now, if I don't know the show well, if it's my first time playing with the band, then I warm up to the songs that I'm going to play on the set. Now, mind you, I already know the songs. I've done my homework before I showed up to the show. But I like to listen to those songs in the order that I'm going to play them for about half an hour before I even go out there. it gives me that feeling of confidence that I know what's going to happen next, and I'm warmed up. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. If you are in a small venue, let's say you play in New York City, and there's not a lot of room backstage, you might be in the kitchen or some small, dingy little room, and you can just only find a corner to warm up, and you're sharing that room with the rest of your band. When this happens, you don't want to play on your thigh, because that won't last too long. You don't. A lot of times, us drummers, we get our drumsticks, we kind of noodle around on our thigh. That doesn't last a very long time, because your thigh is going to start to hurt at a certain point past this 10-minute mark. And you want to warm up at least 20 or 30 minutes before your show. So if you have a small practice pad or even a regular size practice pad, and you're sharing a room with a bunch of people, you want to put something over the practice pad. If you got a small pillow, a t-shirt, a backstage towel, something to put over the pad so your band members and the people that are sharing your space are not annoyed by you tapping on your practice pad and warming up. Trust me, if you're on a tour and you're doing this, you're going to piss some people off sooner or later before that 30-day tour runs out, because every day before the show, you're digga, and people just get tired of hearing that. But you need to do it so you get the best out of your playing. So the advice is put something over your practice pad when you're backstage so you don't piss off your bandmates with your own drumming. That little thing that we all have to do. Another reason warming up before the show is highly important, because of the psychological effects. It makes you look serious to whoever's playing with you. For example, this works out really well for the band that don't know you at all and you're the first time hire. You working with a new band, you want to look professional as possible. And warming up somewhere in the corner, quietly, to your metronome and your headphones, they notice that. That's what professional drummers do before they play. If you see a professional horn player, professional opera singer, just various professional musicians, they oftentimes go into another room, or they find somewhere quiet or somewhere spacious if they're using vocals, or somewhere that they have to be loud, but they warm up. So why shouldn't drummers do it? It's the same. The thing is, when you warming up, they know that you're going to tear it up. Warming up before the gig keeps you out of a lot of mischiefs that happens right before the gig. Oftentimes, band members, we like to walk into the crowd and we like to mingle with the guests, talk to people, have a few drinks before we play. This is good for greeting and meets and greets and things of that nature, but you can always do that after the show. They're going to stick around and wait for you to come out and talk to them. Before the show, you don't want to be in anybody's, presence that may give you a bad vibe. You don't want an argument before the show, or you don't want to have too many celebratory drinks before the show. These things can completely throw you off your game. If you're someone warming up 30 minutes before the show, you're not in all the BS that can cause you to have a bad show. It puts you in a good professional headspace so you can go out and execute. In 2019, I was in Carzola, Spain. It was during the summertime, and I was playing a blues festival. I was playing with Chicago Plays the Stones. Before the gig, I was hanging out at my hotel room. This was maybe around 2 o'clock in the evening, and I heard this blowing off in the distance, this saxophone playing. So I went downstairs, and to my surprise, in the hotel dining area, it was an empty room, and I saw Maceo Parker warming up, just playing scales, just the old time scales that I'm sure he's probably played for years and years and years. Every few minutes he would stop, dump the saliva out his horn, and just keep pacing in circles. Later on that night, we played our set. After we got done playing, I went backstage and I'm hanging out talking to a few musicians, and I can hear those scales again. I looked over and it was coming out of Maceo's tent. He was in his tent warming up before the gig. Right before he went on, I heard him playing those scales, the same scales I heard him play early on in the afternoon. I said, oh man, Maceo getting ready. I started getting all tingly inside because I knew what I was in for. I sat on the side of that stage and I watched Maceo, and the first song out, man, it came out, hit hard. So I knew then, it hit me. You never get too old to warm up. Warming up is something that no matter how well you play, you still need to get ready before you play. You need to be in a good headspace. Your hands need to be loose. And if it's good enough for Maceo, it's definitely good enough for me. So I advise any and everybody, if you're going to play and you want to play well, please warm up before the gig. Well, you've been listening to your favorite drummer, Andrew Blaze Thomas. I advise you to go out and get my book, You Got the Gig, Here's How to Keep It. It's all about lessons and stories, just like the lesson and story that I just shared with you. Talking about salary negotiations, all about traveling, how to travel, the difference between traveling on buses, tour vans, and traveling in airplanes. See, all these things are different, and my new book talks about it all. I'm talking about the little in-between things that us drummers really don't get to talk about when we just making our YouTube videos about how to play better. Well, these videos and this book is about how to keep a gig that you've been working all these years to get. So, stay tuned for more videos on the way. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and thank you so much. You've been with your favorite drummer, Blues Music Award winner, Andrew Blaze Thomas.